John and Harriet Isaac, both born in Germany. And in 1939 we fled to Shanghai, China, where we survived the Holocaust and the war years.
I'm going to start the interview now. I'm going to start the interview now. So
you have to speak it louder.
Okay.
Yeah.
How old were you two when all this was going on?
How old was I?
Well, we left in 1939. I was 27, and my wife Harriet was 30.
We were married.
We were
at
married
that
then.
time.
We were already married for 2 years.
And
But of course, the Hitler time did not start in 1939. It started in 1933. That's when Hitler became, so to speak, president or dictator of Nazi Germany. But many people tried to get out of Nazi Germany, but couldn't, because no country would take them. You needed visas and other documentation of entry. Even America was closed to emigration at that time. They had a quota, and that quota was filled up for years to come. The only place where there was no quota needed was Shanghai, China. That's why we finally had a chance to get there and fled to China.
what was your job in the war?
Our jobs.
Yeah.
In 1933, the Nazis permitted in the only Jewish theater in Germany, because they forbade all the artists to perform in public. So this Jewish theater, which was called Berlin Jewish Culture Bund Theater and Opera House, became the best theater in all Germany, because we had the best performers of all Germany who couldn't perform anywhere else. So in 1933 I became a stage painter and a stage hand at the theater. Shortly after that, Harriet got a job there too, as a tailor for the performers. And in the evening she was an usher. Our work days were sometimes 16 to 18 hours work, including Saturday and Sundays. It was hard work, but it was most interesting work, because you learned music from the bottom up. For instance, I was the curtain management. I had to work the curtain up and down according to the opera music. So I had to study music to know when my time came to pull the curtain up or down. And we had to be on the stage at all rehearsals. So it gave us a fantastic education. Aside from that, which we did not know at that time, the Nazis accepted all the personnel of the theater from being carted off into the concentration camps, because they wanted that theater to perform. So we were free of it.
Go ahead. You wanted to show the world. What do you want? The youth have everything they need. They have theaters, they have concerts, they have their own. They
are not deprived of any cultural means. They have wonderful operas, concerts, theater, and so on, yes. And finally in 1939, by another miracle, so to speak, we were able to board a Japanese freighter in Naples. So my brother, who got us the tickets for the ship, and his family, and Harriet's father, my father-in-law, and we were all together 8 people, which was unheard of in those days to get a ticket to anywhere. We got on the last ship that left Naples, Italy,
for Shanghai in 1939.
But
Our luggage was supposed to be transported on that same ship that was included in our tickets. But right at that time, the Nazis brought out a new ordinance that said immigrants' luggage has to be transported on German ships. So my parents had to reorder all our luggages onto a German ship in Hamburg. And when we got finally, after 4 weeks on the high seas, we got to China, to Shanghai, that other ship never came to Shanghai. It was, the war broke out during that time, and that ship was sunk. So when we got to China, each of us had just 10 mark, which is an equivalent of today's buying power, let's say, of $10. And just what we had on our bodies, period. That's how most of the immigrants landed in Shanghai.
So while you worked at the theater, you knew that all this was going on about Hitler, like how he was like treating people, so you were aware of all this that was going on?
Yes, we were not aware of what happened in the concentration camps. We thought of it, we feared it. We were never safe in the streets because they picked people from the streets and took them to the concentration camp. Now, I don't know whether the people today can understand what that means. You have parents, they have their jobs, you have their homes, their apartments. Over the years you have assembled lots of things that belong to you, that's your lifestyle. Suddenly there is a knock on your door and 2 policemen come and tell you, come. You leave at home everything behind you, everything. Whether you have a bank account, whether you have a business, whether you have anything, it's completely gone, period. That's the way it was in those days in Germany. That's why we were so scared to death. We never knew when that knock would come. My father was a very proud German. He was a Jew, all right, but he was a German. He was an officer in the First World War, and he wouldn't leave Germany. That was his fatherland. In fact, he called me a traitor when I told him I'm going to leave Germany. He couldn't understand that. We were about half a year in Shanghai when we heard that the Nazis were going to pick him up, my mother, and then they came to the door, put the bullets through it, committed suicide, and they said that was the end of it. He never heard of my mother. He didn't know how she ended, where she ended. That's the way it was more than 6 million people. We were the lucky ones. We were so lucky, we were fortunate enough to get out in time. Yeah.
Because you can get it, very unlucky, you can get it, so it's my brother who had somebody who had the store,
my mother, some years I said, went to Hamburg. When we went over there, and this guy was a Christian fellow. He gave me 8 tickets, which was unheard of in those days. Completely for money you could buy tickets, period. Because so many people tried to get out of Germany.
So you guys left Germany before the war started?
Yes, this was the very last ship out of Italy. While we were on the high seas, the war started in 1939. Hitler invaded Poland. And then when we were in Shanghai, the first year and a half, we were rather peaceful. But then, when Pearl Harbor came, the Japanese bombing America. Then the Japanese military forces took over Shanghai and put all the refugees. By that time we were about 20,000 European refugees into what they called a district. It was not a concentration camp, by no means. And they did not try to kill us in gas ovens, no way. But it was a district completely closed, and there was no industry in it, no jobs available, and the only food that we had came either, and the Red Cross was lucky to get through, or from some very wealthy Jewish people in Shanghai. But can you imagine that 10,000 people to feed all these people takes a lot of food, and there wasn't any food.
At the end, we got from America.
Well, it was after the war, Katja.
Was it after
Of
the
course, it was UNRWA, United
UNRWA,
Nations.
yeah.
It was United Nations relief came after the war.
Yeah.
Her father died over it because not only of age but of starvation. The older people, of course, when they get starved, die faster than younger people. Thousands died. Children died by the thousands. That's why we had never had any children, but because we couldn't feed ourselves. What's the good of having children if you don't even can feed them, not to speak give them a future? We had no future in those days.
How do they know who to take off the street? Did they just, out of random, you come with me? Or did, so like...
In Shanghai?
No, in Germany, like, do you
Well,
know?
the Nazis were in uniforms.
Yeah.
They gladly. In fact, once we ran, we were both on bicycles, and how they found out or thought that we were Jewish, I don't know. But they chased us. We were lucky we overran. That's the only time we got away from them.
So they just kind of assume
Yeah, 100%.
what was, all the Jewish, were they too, like, afraid to form any groups to fight back?
No. Now, Germany had not like America, where everybody can carry and have a weapon. That didn't exist in Germany. Nobody, except the police and the military, had any weapons whatsoever. And besides, the German people are very obedient, same like the Japanese and the Koreans. Were very obedient to authority. And there was no resistance, not at all, period.
When did you choose to come to America and why?
After the war, in 1945, we finally got some food through UNRWA, United Nations Relief Organization, and America. We did not want let's say this way, many Jewish people went to Israel, but at that time, Israel was not a nation yet. Somebody come? Peter?
Yes. Okay.
We knew that Israel was in very bad condition because they were fighting for their own life with the Arabs. That's why we didn't want to go to Israel. We had enough starvation and headaches. And besides that, I had a sister living in Elizabeth, New Jersey, who had emigrated before us. That's why we wanted to come to America. We saw it as a land of liberty and freedom and equality and chance that we could make a new living.
Why do you think that Jewish people were targeted in Germany?
Have you ever heard the expression scapegoat? Excuse me,
What do you remember most?
flickering. Does that mean anything? Look, you asked
Scapegoats.
there, let's say, you know what anti-Semitism means? Feeling against Jewish people, race hate, intolerance. Same what you have today in Ireland. Like the Catholics hate the Protestant hate the Catholics. That has been the case in Germany for centuries. The Jewish people, because they were deprived of social and economic standards, became wealthy. It's the same thing like if you lose a muscle and train strong, it becomes strong. The Jewish people in Europe could not be anything but business people. They could not come to teach us
or professor or scientist, and going back hundreds of years in history. But because they were so deprived of other opportunities, they became strong in business, very strong. And of course, especially with people in nation, see that one place, one gets rich.
He envies me. And if everything goes wrong, they point the finger at them. They did it. That's how anti-Semitism was born. And in order to unite a nation, you have to have something to point at and to say, they are at fault. And if we get them out, we will prosper. That's what Hitler did.
Well, what do you remember most about World War II? Is there anything in particular?
Yes. At the end of the war, we were bombed by America, by the Flying Tigers.
Yeah.
They wanted to bomb the Japanese.
Japanese.
The Japanese had built a tower, information tower, right in the center of our district because they figured the Americans wouldn't bomb that tower because they would kill too many Europeans. They figured wrong. The Flying Tigers came in and bombed that tower, and of course quite a few of our people died that way and got injured. And we were lucky. Bombs fell all over us. We didn't know it to begin with. But there was no bomb shelter or anything. We were just standing on the If you got you were lucky. But that was war. It was not like in Germany where you got killed just for your religion. That was war. That's a different story.
To kill everybody?
They didn't kill everybody, the bombs, but they killed 150 people about there. And
there was no shelter.
There was no shelter whatsoever, and they came every day. And at first the Japanese fighter took off and tried to fight them, but they just didn't have the means, and after a week or so no Japanese fighter came up anymore. So we knew the tide of war had turned absolutely against Japan because the American pilots could come in anytime they wanted to. There was no counteraction.
No protection?
No protection whatsoever.
Do you think there's anything that our generation should learn from this?
Yes. There's one word that I wish you would all learn, it's tolerance. Don't ever listen to anybody who claims he is the only solution or she is the only, whether it's religion, whether it's politics. And don't ever think that other people are inferior to you. We are all humans. Regardless what belief you have, we are all humans. We all wish to live. Compete, yes, but don't kill because you think you have more rights than the other.
How old were you during World War II?
About 7.
And where did you live?
When it started. I lived in a small town called Rock Ferry, which is in the county of Cheshire in England, but the part that made it rather more into the war was the fact that we lived across from Liverpool, which at that time was the largest port in the UK, and